Okay, I think we'll get started. Welcome, everyone. My name is Arthur Samuelson. I am the program director at the Rowe Center in beautiful Western Massachusetts, and we are thrilled and delighted to host Jean for now the 35th year, the first time online. So we have to start Jean counting all over again. We're first time online, and I want to welcome for the first time, either online or in on site, Anneloes Smitsman, who you'll get to know a lot better during the course of this program. And we're delighted to introduce her to you. I want to introduce my colleague, Fia Alexander. Fia is here to help out both the presenters as well as you if you're having any trouble with Zoom. And when it comes time to questions, she'll be an intermediary for that. We've We've muted you all because it's hard to manage a group with such a large number, if anybody can speak. So she'll be managing all of that. And now let me introduce Jean, who is an innovative scholar, a futurist, and a researcher in human capacity, social change, and systemic transformation. And she's probably one of our most beloved workshop leaders, having taught almost 4 decades at Rowe, and one of the most extraordinary people that I've ever met. It's always a thrill and a delight to welcome her back to Rowe and to hear how her very fertile mind is producing new ideas all the time to help us orient ourselves in the world that is changing faster than perhaps at any other time in history. Jean's one of the principal founders of the Human Potential Movement and one of the foremost visionary thinkers and doers of our time. She's been a key player in the empowerment of women around the world, was awarded the Synergy Superstar Award 2020 by the Source of Synergy Foundation for exemplary work, inspiring us to source our highest human capacities. She's worked intensively in over 40 cultures, written 39 books, I think, right, Jean?
Give or take a few.
Lectured in over 100 countries and worked with major organizations such as UNICEF and NASA, as well as helping global state leaders, leading educational institutions and business organizations to enhance and deepen their own uniqueness. Jean is Chancellor of Meridian University and co-author with Anneloes, who I'm going to introduce shortly, of a book called Future Human Trilogy that you're going to hear a bit about as well from both of them. I am thrilled and delighted to introduce Anneloes Smitsman. Um, she is a visionary scientist, physicist, published author, futurist, systems architect, and leadership analyst. She's the founder and CEO of Earthwise Center, and she's speaking to us from Mauritius, which is in the East African Ocean. Um, Another one of the great miracles of Zoom, that we're able to not just bring people together from all over the world, but we're also able to host workshop leaders no matter where they are, as long as they're willing to get up really early. Um, Anneloes has provided training, executive coaching, consultancy, and project development for international clients. She developed the Education for Sustainability program for schools in Mauritius, through which she's trained over 300 teachers. Her multi-stakeholder dialogue process was adopted in 2012 to 2014 in 9 different countries for the UN, Rio plus 20 civil society inputs, and she trained the youth leaders of SIDS, Small Island Developing States, under UNESCO for the 2014 UN SIDS Youth Inputs. She's a member of the Evolutionary Leaders Circle and a founding member of the creative board of the Laszlo Institute of New Paradigm Research. She's an architect and researcher for Seeds in Haifa for co-developing the regenerative Renaissance tools, currencies, and systems, and is the lead author of the R3.0 Educational Transformation Blueprint. Anneloes, as I said earlier, is the co-author of the forthcoming book with Jean of the Future Humans Trilogy. So let's get on with the show. I am delighted to turn it over to you, Jean.
Thank you so much. And it's so good seeing you so handsome and well, my friend. And I know there's a lot of people out there who I have known for many, many years. I really think of Rowe as my second home. In fact, I wish I was there now, and I'm glad you're not here with me on the Pacific Northwest, where it is going to be 110 degrees today. Very strange happening for this part of the country, which is very temperate. We've got work to do, friends, deep work. So, my friends, I'd like to tell you a funny but magical story. So I'm a person who is kin to dogs, as you know. I have a wonderful dog over watching this whole process with me. But one of my dogs one day went over to the corner of a rug in my bedroom, began to paw and paw and paw and paw. And I said, Habibi, you don't have to do that. Stop. Paw, paw, paw. I said, I better see. And I go over, and there seems to be a white paper that's emerging from the rug. I pull back the rug, pull out the paper, and it is a long paper by this interesting woman you've just heard about, Anneloes Smitsman from Holland, after which she went to Mauritius. And it's about the future existing. Now, I knew that. And I've been studying for years, along with the thoughts of some of our best alternative creative scientists. And they've been saying time past, time present, time future are simultaneous. Whoa. And she was saying the same, but giving good scientific reasons why this was so. And so I immediately got in touch with her, and it turned out she had been trying to reach me, but I get hundreds of emails a day. And so I just hadn't gotten to her email. But we start to speak, and we realize we have so much in common. We better write a book. In fact, we better write 3 books. So that was, when was that, Anneloes? Was that March of last year? March.
That's correct. That's correct. Exactly.
Every day since then, we have been on Zoom writing. We have never met in person. We're going to be so shocked when we do. We've been writing this book, and it's been getting extraordinary reviews from people whose names you know. And we thought, well, we better put it out there. And it's a trilogy, but the original trilogy is 900 pages, which means it was a book that could be used as a doorstop. So instead, we have turned it into a trilogy. And the first part of the trilogy number 1, which is called Future Humans, The Quest of Rose, because she's the main character, will be coming out in July, around July 22nd, and you can get it on Amazon. Well, friends, I am so thrilled to be introducing radically new material to you. How do you activate the genius of the cosmos, which contains the future, in catalytic times? How do you become a catalyst in new ways of being, thinking, exploring, creating? You see, we need to access new levels of ourselves that are in relationship not just to the immensities that we contain within ourselves, but to meet and marry with the immensities and requirements of our world at this time of enormous changes in time and history. I realize other times in history thought they were it, they're wrong. This is it. This is it. You got born now. Don't blame me. But this then requires that you begin to rethink who and what, not only who you are, but the purpose and possibilities. Purpose and possibilities that lie within you that will help you to awaken to, I think it's T.S. Eliot's words, redeem the time, redeem the unread vision of the higher dream. But this means we have to discover ways to access domains in ourselves that in most people, unfortunately, remain untouched, unlooked for, dormant. We have to provide people with means to access whole new levels of energy, vitality, help people to enhance inspiration, ideas, and ultimately be capable of being catalysts of transformative action in the world, and how to safely enter into and access these inner domains. So my dear friend, Anneloes, who I hope to meet someday, she is in many ways, at least in my experience, this possible human, this future human. And Anneloes, to introduce yourself, I'm going to ask you to speak about your own remarkable personal journey of entering into future human potentials that has allowed you to accomplish so much. And she's only 40 years younger than I am.
Yeah, thank you so much, Gina, and thank you so much, Arthur and the Rowe Center and everyone who is here. And I do look forward to meeting you all in person, hopefully soon, as soon as flights are going again. And yes, future human potential. You know, when we hear the word future, we often think about that which is not yet manifest. But if we then ask a little bit deeper, where does that which is not yet manifest exist? And then a lot of people believe that future is out there, as if it's not happening here. And indeed, what Jean was saying earlier in the research that she was reading, it's about the existence, the presence of the future here and now. So I got in touch with my own future potential probably when I was quite little. I had a lot of health challenges as a little girl, and challenges that the doctors didn't always know answers for. So I had to really learn at a very early age to believe in myself and to access my future potential, to dream into this life that I really felt was possible for me, because if I wasn't going to do that, I would never have achieved the things that I have in my life. So I discovered my future human potential in lots of situations with challenges. And then what I realized is that every time that there was a challenge in my life, or my body was hurting, or things were not going well, that there would be a concentrated life energy, there would be a concentrated intelligence. I'd almost say an influx of consciousness itself in those moments. Sometimes in the darkest times, when you really feel like, oh, how am I going to go through this? And what does it all mean? And it'd be like this little inner voice whispering and showing a greater possibility. And that's when I actually started to realize that in the very moments when we think it's very difficult, or there might be a collapse or a darkness, or we feel this sense of hopelessness even, that there is something of life itself that reaches in that moment and seeks to connect with us. And when I learned to recognize that little impulse, I noticed that it would almost like help me to travel on a beam of consciousness into dimensions and places within myself that I didn't even know were possible. And it's then by following that little impulse and realizing that life really wants the best for me, life really wants the best for all of us, that I was then able to see how life itself has this phenomenal power of renewal, of transformation. And then where I was growing up in the Netherlands, I was surrounded with a lot of animals. And I noticed that the animals had the most incredible resilience and the most incredible intuition as well. And I asked myself, what is it about us human beings that it seems that we've lost that connection and have lost touch with that? And what would it mean if we were to kind of reinvent our societies with that deeper intelligence and wisdom of nature itself? And that then became really the passion of my own quest, but also my research to better understand what are living systems? How does the universe learn and develop and grow and evolve? And what world would become possible if we actually started to connect with what's already given, and that, you know, beautiful possibility space that exists in each of us. And this is what Jean and I really were bringing together, and what we noticed as we started to work together. It's like her work and, you know, incredible scholarship and all her practices and what I've been working on, it seamlessly just connected so beautifully. And we saw this kind of this greater map unfolding, which is what we then brought together in our books and in our courses now as well. And this is really our intention also, to support all of you in this difficult time, to connect with that future potential, which is really the power of life itself, to renew, to transform, and to dream a higher dream, to evolve also in the midst of difficulties, which then gives a sense of great hope. Because for a lot of people right now, when they hear the word future, and I'm a mother of 2 boys, and even when I ask my own children, you know, what do you think about the future? How does it feel? They say there's a lot of uncertainty and we're scared what's happening with our planet. And so they are often surrounded with information that makes them feel uncertain about the future. And yet what Jean and I will be sharing with you, and what we've kind of been living ourselves and then studying more deeply, how does this work, is that future is a phenomenal power of life itself, from the unmanifest, from the unborn, that exists right here and right now. And that there are specific ways of being able to enter into the state of consciousness that is future, to them to be able to activate those potentials. And we're going to be reading a little bit from our book, and Jean is going to give a practice from our book so that you can actually experience that. So just as a slight context for the story that we will be reading. So the book begins with Rose, the main character of our story, a young woman in her mid-20s who's very adventurous, always looking for the hidden knowledge, studied as a biologist and worked in a bookshop, traveled around the world, ended up in the Netherlands during in the midst of the COVID crisis, got hospitalized with COVID, almost died. And then as she was really faced with her own challenges and felt her life slipping away, said to the universe, that's it? This can't be, I can't accept this. Show me what is the new choice that I can make that can change everything. And then the cosmos reached into her and showed her the power of her future choice. And that was not the power about the future, but it was the power of choice from a new cycle of time. And then she discovered how to connect with that new cycle of time within herself, just like the imaginal discs of the butterfly that already exists within the caterpillar since its birth, but it will only start to awaken when the caterpillar reaches a stage of collapse and comes to the end of one growth pattern, and then surrenders, starts to make its cocoon. And in that process, the butterfly now, and the butterfly consciousness starts to emerge. So Rose is going through that same journey, and then she needs to be able to integrate how she got this new choice of life and everything that happened within her. And then she has this amazing grandmother, Verdandi, who's like a female Merlin. She's really like a wise woman and a wizard and incredibly funny and the most lovable character. And she guides then Rose through that journey to be able to not only access her future potential, but now being able to apply that and to really grow into her future possibility of wanting to be an architect of a new kind of civilization. So Jean, shall we start our reading?
We do, and I'm playing Verdandi, the Merlin old grandma, and you're playing Rose. Rose, why do you care so deeply about this possible future that you experience so profoundly? when you went beyond the veil? Why?
Well, one thing is for sure, it's not this wounding business of the old myths. In fact, it makes me feel really rebellious. I'm not playing that game of constant pain. My activation to grow and to learn and renew is beauty and joy and love and harmony and curiosity and wonder.
Well, which of these qualities evokes in you the deepest passion and commitment? Which ones?
Wonder, Grandma, wonder. I just love to find these hidden treasures of life, to experience the awe and the wow of the greater mystery. I love those moments when the veil falls away, the oh, wow, aha. You know me, I'm an explorer, and I love to experience discovery. Routines and predictability, they bore me. I get really engaged when I feel a sense of wonder.
Well, then, my darling, don't complain anymore that the universe has hidden and veiled its secret knowledge. You were always, always fascinated by hidden things. When the magical child becomes wounded, she can lose her sense of wonder and close her heart. That's why most of the adults don't believe in fairy tales anymore. Life is wondrous. In fact, the word wonder in the Dutch, Norse, and Germanic language means miracle. Wonder means miracle.
Wonderbaarlijk. Exactly, Grandma. That's right. That's the Dutch way. So can doing the right thing and feeling hugely attracted to the miraculous then link up?
Oh, of course, love. For people to do the right moral thing in a time of so much greed and distrust is nothing short of a miracle itself. Wouldn't you agree? Because it's precisely from this sense of wonder and the miracle of real change, that people would be willing to open their hearts again. We can't open or soften the human heart with dogma and threats. Populist leaders were gaining so much influence in our world because they knew how to play on people's desire to see things change, their lives transform, make countries great again. Work with your archetypal inclination for wonder. Oh, my dear, help people to see the real miracles of life.
Thank you, Grandma. I will do that.
Now, my friends, I would like to give you a practice from our book, The Quest for Rose, the New Human, about accessing new consciousness states. Now, it's true, I've done a lot of that with you over the last 35 years, those of you who have been in the Rowe Conference with me. But this is something different. This is deeper, because this realizes that we are not just encapsulated bags of skin dragging around very little ego. We are organisms who are part of the cosmic energy of all creation and knowledge itself. We are fractals of the great unity of being. How to get there? Let's try. So close your eyes if you like and relax. Relax and bring your attention inward, inward, inward. Let go of the outer world and trust in the guidance of your inner wisdom. Be fully relaxed now, so relaxed that you feel like you're melting while you go deeper and deeper within. You've now become so utterly relaxed and receptive to yourself that you are fully present in the center of your being. Now form the intention to enter the inner dimensions of yourself beyond your ordinary mind. Go deeper and deeper into yourself. Cross the inner thresholds of all your former realities. You are going beyond the inner worlds and realities that you know. Know, dear friends, that you are safe. Your innate wisdom will guide you. Now form the intention to enter the unborn dimensions of your inner being. You've now left the known worlds behind you. They are behind you, as your inner wisdom guides you further into the unborn potentials of yourself. Again, know that you are safe. Your inner wisdom knows the way. And while you enter these unborn dimensions of your inner being, you're invited to enter the great cosmic darkness. Do that now. Oh, my friends, this cosmic darkness, it might appear as dark for your mind, but it is so full of life, so full of possibilities. Think of it as a sacred womb in which the unborn potentials are given a home to be fertilized and born into the worlds of form, the worlds of form. Take some time now to simply be present in this sacred womb, which your soul knows deeply and recognizes. Form the intention to meet here the unborn qualities of your future self that you may never have met before in this way. Meet the parts of you that have never been experienced by you before and have not yet been born to the world of form. Now take another deep breath. While you breathe out, relax even further. Open yourself to whole new experiences of yourself and trust your inner wisdom to guide you to experiences that you're ready for from this place of unborn qualities of your cosmic self. I'm going to ask you to explore these new states of consciousness over the next 2 minutes of objective time, equals subjectively to all the time you need to experience the depth and the wholeness of these new states of consciousness and abilities. The 2 minutes of clock time equals subjectively to all the time you need begins now. Now return to the time and place of your local reality. You are attuned now. You are attuned now to your higher becoming, fully present in your body. And when you are ready, you may gently open your eyes, being fully present in the here and now. Anneloes, can you tell us something from our book about the unborn dimensions? How to recognize when the future is reaching into us? Preferably the optimal future, the ideal future, the future that can help us go beyond the stuckness that we find ourselves in now, creating profoundly new ways of being, doing, creating, becoming the friend of the earth and all life. Anneloes?
Thank you, Jean, and thank you for guiding us so deeply to these unborn dimensions in ourselves and where the future lives in us in its little embryo state. And I think just let us pause even in that realization, how the future lives in you also in an embryotic state. And how in that state it's seeking now to emerge through your engagement. So one of the things that we share also in the book, and that Rose was sharing in this dialogue with Verdandi, her grandmother, is that for her it emerges as a sense of curiosity, a sense of adventure, sometimes rebelliousness, asking the deeper questions. And what she reflects on there is that the activation point for how we enter into change seems to set up the dynamics for how we are going to experience change. And what she felt very rebellious about is that in the old mythic pattern of change, you always had to come so close to that. There's always a collapse. There's always being challenged in often a quite a painful way. And she asked herself, as part of entering into the potentials of a new cycle of time, she said, if there is indeed a new era that so many of us have sensed, and so many of the great seers of our time were foretelling, then surely that new era needs to have a new way in which we can grow and evolve. And could it then be possible to have a conscious choice about how we want to enter into and be in front of change, rather than being forced to change? So there are two fundamental ways in which change can happen, and we're going to be sharing a lot with you during the intensive about distinguishing these two fundamental different ways. Change can happen when a state is simply no longer sustainable. We've come to the end of the road. We may even be very reluctant, but there's something in life that says, look, it's blocked and life wants to continue. So if this state or this relationship or this behavior or this attitude is no longer sustainable, it comes to a stop. In science, we talk about it as entropy, when there's no more energy left in a system for any activity, it falls apart. However, there's another way in which change can happen that invites us now as co-creators to be part of that process. And that is through your future potential. And that is, change can also happen by us entering into our own life and life around us into a higher state of being, of greater coherence, deeper connectiveness, deeper synergy, deeper flow. And it's like, instead of feeling tumbled by this big wave of change, we're learning to serve it. Now, I don't know how many of you have been surfing. I was brought up half of my life on a sailing boat. And so when you're sailing, and especially when you're sailing in little boats, you learn that there's a way of catching the wave when you kind of go just a little bit in front of it, and then you slide at the back, and then you ride it out. And then suddenly you can make use of the momentum of the wave. But if you miss that, it's like the wave just plays with you. So Jean and I are going to be working with you during this beautiful intensive at Rowe Center, how to ride those waves and how to also create waves of change that are transformative, right, Jean, and generative.
Beautifully said, thank you. I think we have some time for a couple of questions before we go more deeply into the course and why it's important for you to become part of this course. Are there any questions? And Thea, perhaps you can find them.
I think it'll take a minute to get them typed in.
Okay.
Why don't I take advantage of this moment then and just tell you that the Jean and Anneloes' weekend intensive is going to be on the weekend of July 16th to 19th. It's going to follow what was our traditional on-site schedule. So it's a lot, it's intensive. That's why we call it an intensive, from Friday night through Sunday. And I just posted online the URL where you can get a fuller description and can register for the program.
Thank you.
I am not seeing any questions. Maybe you have covered it so beautifully that they're full and understanding.
Okay. Well, they're just trying to create the questions. Sometimes the answers or the luminous experience becomes so full that you just want to be quiet for a while. I understand that one. Well, now, friends, I'd like to first ask Anneloes to briefly share about this weekend intensive and what we're going to be doing this week of intensive, which is rightly called Your Future Becoming. Anneloes?
Thank you, Jane. And yes, I'll be delighted to share a little bit. And then also for all of us who are here with us on the call, if you don't have a question, but you would just like to share what you feel, that's fine too. So we'll give you some opportunities. Yeah, just share after that. So as Arthur was saying, it is an intensive. So we're really going to go through a journey. But the reason why we've kind of been designing it as a full weekend is that we can create a cocoon. And because in a cocoon, there's a lot of change that happens, including the dissolving of old and former structures and the growing of new ways. But what happens in a cocoon is that that's safe. There is a beautiful sacred space that holds you so that you don't feel like you fall apart. If you were to open the cocoon, there'll be a stage where the caterpillar is turned into mush. If there wasn't this cocoon, there would be no support for the butterfly to come into being. And quite often in our life, this is exactly what we feel is missing. We feel like there's all of this mushiness and this breaking down and this dissolving and falling away. And we don't have this cocoon. And then at the same time, we have to show up. We have responsibilities. Many of us have children. We feel like we need to be strong. And yet we feel we need time and support to go within, to be part of our own growing and to safely be able to go into that cocoon in order to really be with our transformation. So we'll be holding that space for you through 5 thematic areas, starting on the Friday evening. And we start with activating your future potential. We'll be going even deeper into what we were doing now, going to beautifully guided processes, allowing you also to really reflect on where am I right now in my life and what is seeking to be born, but also what do I need to let go of. And then we'll be guiding you on Saturday into entering into our higher states of awakening, which is really quite important. But using that activation point of joy and wonder and beauty in order to enter into these higher states, which brings us then also still on the Saturday in the powers of joy and renewal. How can we work with that? And then Jean, your dear friend, Peggy, right, will be joining us as well. On that stage.
Yes, Peggy Rubin will be joining us. Many of you know.
It will be amazing to learn from her, yes. And then from there, we will be sharing with you a cosmic compass. So that, and it's a design template, and you'll learn how to work with that in your life to be able to connect more deeply with what's my purpose, what's my vision for our life, what are my values, what are the values that help me to express and go out there, what are the values that help me to go within, what are the kind of core principles also that I feel I need for this next stage of life, what are my commitments. So that's all part of the compass, so that you learn to navigate what's happening right now in the world, but also your inner change process. And then we complete that on Sunday with a beautiful sourcing of your next stages of growth. Jean, back to you.
Well, I'm reminded of this with Gandhi's great words, that as human beings, our greatness lies not so much in being able to remake the world as being able to, to remake ourselves. Why is this important? Well, because you're needed. You really are needed. Your story, your becoming, your capacities are shifting as your story is becoming part of the story of stories, which is our present time, the great, unique singularity of history. Now, I believe that you're a space-time agent placed in your biodegradable space-time suit, but you are patterned. Oh, dear friends, you are patterned to operate at different levels of excellence, of possibilities, and to make a difference in this particular space-time of Earth's history. And given the nature, the horrendous nature of the problems and the challenges that face us, we have to think about accessing our higher possibilities. We are in Renaissance times. As a cultural historian, I've studied a lot of times that are not that different from ours, not with the same machinery and mechanisms, but something very similar. The great times, the Renaissance times, I'm half Sicilian, so I can put it in the original language, the rinascita, the rebirthing times, are generally always preceded by times of colossal breakdown and pandemic. Just remember the Renaissance of the late 14th century, preceded by a horrendous time in which half of Europe died of a pandemic. But then when they came together, it was this something about emergency that creates the powers of emergence. And I truly believe that is where we are now. Dear friends, we would like to help you. We'd like to be with you. We would like to orchestrate with you the music of a new time, of which the poet says, the human heart can go to the lengths of God. Dark and cold we may be, but this is no winter now. The frozen misery of centuries cracks, breaks, begins to move. The thunder is the thunder of the flood, of the flow, the upstart spring. Thank God our time is now, when wrong comes up to meet us everywhere, never to leave us till we take the longest stride of soul folk ever took. Affairs are now soul-sized. The enterprise is exploration into God. What are you making for? It takes so many thousand years to wake. But shall we wake? For pity's sake. Oh, people, it's wake-up time. And Anneloes and I have done an enormous amount of work to help make this happen. Please join us if you can. Please join us if you can't. Come. Our time will be a rich epiphany of possibilities, of actions, and of shift, preparing us to be ones who can be the difference that makes the difference. Thank you, Thea. Thank you, Arthur.
Jean, there's a beautiful question from Angela. And so she's asking us about when the caterpillar reaches the state of collapse and goes into the cocoon, what happens in the cocoon in order to emerge as a butterfly and facilitates that turning point with a solution. Would you like me to share about that process?
Well, a lot is known, of course, you know, in its falling apart, the cocoon begins to break apart and it releases a protein-rich serum that activates both the parts that have been fallen apart as well as the butterfly genius. That's what's happening now. Thank you for asking that question, because we are in a cocoon that is breaking down. And there are new ways of being, perhaps from the future, but certainly from deep inside you, as a kind of rich, rich serum of transformation that is giving us, bringing us to our butterfly selves. Wonderful question. Thank you.
So to add to that, what Jean just shared, so we also share in the book, and we'll be sharing that with you in the intensive, that there are 5 distinct stages for that transformation, from potentiality to possibility, to the state of the inner building and the transition from the old to the new, to the emergence, to then becoming this butterfly. And so when the caterpillar is born, it already carries within it the DNA of the butterfly. So what's interesting is that the caterpillar and the butterfly have distinctly different DNA, and yet it's one being. Just like we could say, we're coming in coded in certain ways, but there's also the codes of the futures that is already within us. Now we have more possibilities than the butterfly caterpillar, but we can learn a lot about that process. So when then the caterpillar starts to eat, and it reaches a stage when its body can no longer sustain its weight, look at our world, We are over-consuming, we're overeating, we are eating up our planet to the point of collapse, only we're not making that cocoon, although COVID crisis could be seen as a cocoon. What happens then is once it starts to spin that cocoon, the imaginal discs now start to activate because its own growth hormone reaches a threshold where it can go no further. And when it reaches that threshold, another hormone starts to now emerge that starts to take care of the cocooning and starts to now work for the dissolution process, the enzymes that Jean was referring to. Now there's a critical stage at that point for the butterfly body to be built. And that is these imaginal discs in which the future potential is, have to link up. If they do not link up to become the imaginal cells, and the imaginal cells do not group to become the imaginal organs that then use all the nutrients of the caterpillar body that's decaying, then it won't form. And this is also what we'll be working with you, that we go further than just the activation of the future potential. Then we start to work on what are these new organs within us of our own future body of time, our own future consciousness that we need to develop in terms of then our capacities, so that we can then truly emerge in this new state and then really dedicate the next stage of our life from these new possibilities and capacities. Jane.
I think we have given about as full a description of both the actual science of cocooning and the release into the butterfly stage, as well as for ourselves. We are in the time of the breakdown and the breakthrough. That's why I refer to it as the time of renashita, of rebirth. So dear friends, please join us if you can. Come. The teaching is going to be very interesting, very evocative. And what is better than you can then go out and help so many others, because that's what this time is about. Thank you, Arthur. Thank you so much. Thank you, Thea. Thank you, everybody.
And thank you, Anneloes, and thank everybody for coming. You can watch the recording of this session. It'll be posted on our website in about a day or two. I will probably send you an email just reminding you how to register for the intensive. But last of all, in our monthly magazine, the Center Post, where we share articles by our presenters, there is a chapter from their Jean and Anneloes' book, forthcoming book, and some information on how you can find more about the book as well. When is the book coming out?
It's around July 22nd, I believe.
That's right, yes.
Just a question about what's the difference between the weekend intensive in July and the workshop in August. I don't know what workshop in August you're referring to, Angela.
That's a different workshop. We have a workshop with dream tending in August, which is a course. That's not an intensive.
Okay. So we have, I usually introduce our speakers by first introducing Rowe, and I just want to say very quickly, we've been in Western Massachusetts for almost 100 years, and we're about to reopen gradually. We run summer camps for kids that are starting this weekend, actually. We run summer camps for adults in August. We have one for people in recovery that's been meeting for over 40 years. We have one for gay men. We have one for people in their 20s. That's a peer-led program. And we're launching something new this year called Creativity Camp. And each one of these are 5-day programs. And you live in a beautiful place, no cell service, good food, and they're a lot of fun. And we're looking forward to being able to reopen. This intensive that we're talking about in July is going to be online. We will be, as I said, we will be reopening our weekend workshops in September. It's slowly. we've been dark for a year, and we've used that year to rebirth ourselves. Actually, we've learned how to do a lot of things we didn't know how to do before, reach all over the world, and think about our programming in a very different way. In the beginning, I was very doubtful that we could possibly create in 2 dimensions what we've worked so hard for so long to do in 3. But in fact, we found out that there's a 4th dimension that we hadn't even been aware of, and that like the process that that Jean and Anneloes have been talking to you about, we found a way to rebirth ourselves, and we're looking forward to implementing some of that when we come back, because we're going to come back in a very different way than the way we went into this pandemic, and I wish the same for all of you. So thank you. Thank you, Thea, for helping out. Thank you, Anneloes, and in the middle of the East African Ocean, and Jean in Swelter, Oregon.
Swelter. Yes.
Thank you
Anyway,
so much.
Thank you. Thank you,
bye,
dear friend.
everybody.